Very good morning. Uh, we'll start our today's discussion. And in today's discussion, we are learning so many concepts with respect to Java. That is regarding how the like already few access modifiers like public, private, protected, and if you not mentioned anything like that. And along with that, two more access modifiers we are discussing, that is transient and volatile modifiers. See, in the concept of transient, see, you can declare a variable as transient. And I also mentioned without transient. See, the meaning of transient means it will not persist when you are storing in the memory. So that's what the difference when you are creating object of type T, and in the memory it will remain as it is when you declare any particular variable. But when you are declaring that as a transient, its state will not persist. So the definition, when an instance variable is declared as transient, then its value need not persist when an object is stored. So if you want to like this particular concept is very helpful in serialization. Okay, serialize means when one particular network to another, when you are transferring the data, okay, you have to serialize and deserialize. That is some advanced concept. And in such instances, you are declaring transient so that that particular value will not persist in another particular environment. So that's what the use of transient. And then comes volatile. Volatile is also advanced concept. It is with related to thread. Just an example I'll show you. See, when multiple threads, let us consider T1, T2, T3 are three different threads, they try to access the variable commonly. So what they will do, a separate local copy of shared value is created for each thread by JVM. So each will maintain its own copy. So that's what happened when you declare just a normal declaration and operating the thread. But if you make it volatile, then variable is declared as volatile. Each thread will read value variable directly from the main memory. So cache copy, separate copy, and master copy, like that concept will not be there in volatile. If you declare it directly read from the main memory. So no thread will keep a separate local copy of that variable in its cache. It directly reflects in our main memory. So that's what the difference with the transient and volatile modifiers. Because as you are learning everything, so you should be perfect in Java. That's what the idea in this particular unit. They will touch everything, but not in detail. So transient and volatile variables, like as I told, transient will not persist, and volatile means master copy. It will reflect in that only. Next, another concept, that is instance of. See, the you already know what is instance, and in this particular context, we are going through what is this instance of. Let us see the example. Consider one class A which declares two variable, and one more class C which extends A, which also its own functionality. Now let us consider we are with another class where public static void main is there, and there you created two instances. That means you created object of type A and also object of type C. Even though OB1 is instance of A and OB2 is instance of C, as the C is inherited from A, we'll see what is the instance of C also. Okay, the first OB1 object. We are with the keyword instance of. We are verifying whether OB1 is instance of A. If that is correct, then this loop will be executed. Definitely, OB1 is instance of A itself. Okay, so this is perfectly valid. That is what the use of instance of object. We are verifying it belongs to that class itself. How to verify? Using instance of. Okay, so instance of OB1 is instance of A. Definitely it is correct. Like that, OB2 is instance of C. Yes, that is also perfectly correct. Is it not? That is also perfectly correct. OB2 definitely instance of C. Now we'll verify whether OB2 is instance of A. No, that is the question, is it not? But class A, from that C is inherited. We created object 1 of type A and object 2 of type C. So definitely we verified OB1 is instance of A, OB2 is instance of C. Now we are verifying whether OB2 is instance of A. Definitely it is correct because C inherits A. So OB2 also having the instance of A. So this is perfectly correct. OB2 is instance of A. Next, we will verify OB1 is it instance of C? OB1 whether is it instance of C? No, definitely not. This will not return true value because OB1 is not instance of C. Next, whether OB1 is instance of object. See, you know that default class is object class. As we told, like object is the class from where all the hierarchy starts. Now we are verifying the object what you created. Is it instance of object? Yes, it is perfectly correct because built-in class is object class and all the particular objects what you have created is instance itself. So OB1 is instance of object. If you are verifying, it is perfectly correct. Like that OB2, is it instance of object? Yes, of course. That is also correct. Okay, any particular object what you created that will also be an instance of object class, built-in object class. Okay, so this is what the use of instance. If you are using some object and if you wanted to know for which class it belongs to, you can use this method, instance of. That means it's a keyword actually, instance of. Okay, so that's about instance. Next, strict FP. Another concept that is strict FP. This is something new. Just we'll see strict FP is a keyword. Strict floating point. That's what the meaning of that. Strict FP. It's a keyword in Java used for restricting floating point calculations and ensuring same result on every platform while performing operations on the floating point variable. See, normally floating point operation is system dependent, architecture dependent, how the computation takes place. So definitely when we are performing these floating point operations, you will not get the same value. That means with respect to precision. Okay, some will give 0.00001 or some will round off. All these particular problems are there with respect to floating point operation. So floating point calculations are platform dependent. Different output is achieved when a class file is run on different platform because it depends, as I told, machine dependent, and depending on different processor, its value changes. 16-bit processor, 32-bit processor, 64-bit processor, like that the precision will change. So strict FP modifier is used with the classes and interfaces and methods. Okay, so you can make your class a strict FP so that when you see this particular keyword, it will commonly apply its evaluation and it will remain same in different platforms. Okay, so strict FP, you can apply strict FP even to not only classes, you can apply that to interfaces and methods. Okay. So that's what another important information. Strict FP. That means uh, which will make your floating point calculation uniform across the platforms. You can make strict FP to classes, interfaces, and to methods. Okay, so that's about strict FP. Next concept, that is native methods. Native, see the native word, very important, native, because so far we are discussing Java is write once, run anywhere, anytime, forever, all the definition of Java, and platform independent, portable, all these are what the key features of Java. Native methods. And then native methods means what actually? Because we are with the so many different languages, C, C++, Python, so many, like basic, COBOL onwards. And you already written some efficient code in these languages. Is it possible to invoke that with respect to Java? That is what the discussion here, native methods. Because this particular concept is very useful with the reusability, because when efficient code is available, instead of translating directly that into Java, why don't you use that itself? So that is what the native methods, public int. So we are with the keyword native. Okay? So we are with the keyword native. We will make any method as native. First of all, like any method which is written in another language, that you are invoking with this syntax. Okay? Public, definitely, you are calling from outside. It should be native. You have to declare this keyword. It is native method what you are calling. And if it is having some return type, that also you are mentioning method name with or without any argument. So there comes into picture Java native interface, J and I, Java native interface, which will take care of this. So we are with our particular tool, that is Java H, like how Java, Java C, Java is interpreter, Java C is a compiler, and Java P is to extract the skeleton of the code, and Java Doc is to generate the documents. Like that, various tools are available with our JDK. Like that, we are also having option Java H. So when you will do this, okay, this particular file is turned into header file with the extension .h, and this you are processing according to your requirement. And like many stages are there. I think this is not necessary at this particular stage. Just the idea is you can execute any other particular programming structure in your Java program. Okay, so that's what the idea. There comes into picture Java native interface, and we are having also a option Java H, which will convert that into header file, and that will be processed with C. When you are doing this, two problems. One is potentially security risk. Security risk means it interacts with nativity. That means DLL libraries actually, which will comes into picture when you created a header file, and when you processed that with the C compiler, it works with the native code. Like when I discussed applet, just I told one important information. Applet will not interact with the local files. That's why it is secured. Here, what we are doing is we are executing that with locally. So there is always a chances like, and C is already we identified it is with vulnerable code, directly interact with the memory. There is a chances of malfunctioning. All this we identified. That's why we are with the idea of new languages where it is free from accessing any memory related information. that leads to potential security risk. Okay, when you are interacting with the native code. Next, loss of portability. So when you are doing such operation, definitely it generates like if C code, if you are executing, it will generate the DLL which is local to that system. And once again, if you wanted to run that in another platform, once again you have to compile, and it should reflect to that nativity. So there, the concept of portability will not comes into picture. That means you can, uh, Java generates bytecode, and bytecode you can execute anywhere. So that portability will not be there if you with and this native methods if you are using. Okay, so that is what another risk. Anyway, Java provided the option like you can execute. Okay, it is like the application how to handle that particular situations. Okay. So anyway, this is about the native ability how Java provides. We are with the keyword native, and like with the static method you are loading the library, and then you are compiling with the Java Edge. So the different stages are there to execute C program with respect to our uh, native methods. Next concept is assert. We are with one more new keyword, that is assert. See, what is assert? Assertion. It is a assertion. Assertion is normally comes with when you are interacting with the database and all. Okay. Assertion means some condition. Immediately you will identify that condition, and it normally occurs in the runtime. Okay, because normally any particular uh, abnormal condition, if it exists in the program, okay, that will be identified there itself. But unexpected condition due to some particular operation, if it occurs, okay, then how to handle. So that is what very tedious process in the languages. So Java provides assertion. Just I'll show you the example. Like consider one class A, which contains one variable that is value is equal to 3, and I return one static method which will return int. Okay, get some number. Okay, get mul. Like that I return, which will return the value of that variable, and each time when you are invoking that, it will subtract. It will minus the value and it will return. So inside public static void main, I am invoking that method in a for loop. See for loop, get month. See each time, first time you will get that value itself. 3 you will get, then 2 you will get, 1 you will get, 0 you will get. See, assert. I written assert n greater than 0. If I give any statement here, system.out.println, if I print this statement, I'll get 3, I'll get 2, I'll get 1. Okay, but 0 means it will not able to handle that, and it throws assert uh, particular error. That means assertion will continue this smoothly, because I want always to return with the positive number. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll give the assert, and whenever it is positive number, it will print, and if negative number comes means it will throw an exception. Okay, and that's what they use. Okay, you may thinking, what is the use of this assert here? Assert, if you are not writing, then you have to write the code like this. How? See, if we are having a positive number, like if n is a negative number, okay, then you have to write the condition there, like system.out.print negative return, something you have to do. If you are not writing like this, okay, alternative is this. You have to write, oh, this is what the condition, because I am checking. negative number, is it not? So assert all positive will pass, okay, and negative it will throw the exception, okay. Instead of doing that, you can do like this. If there is a negative, it will be with the if condition. You have to check, okay. And you can also apply this assert for the entire packages, okay. Entire packages you can apply assert, and you can make enabling and disabling this particular assertion, okay. This condition of checking you can set, okay. How to enable for the entire package, you can control this this particular package if you are using means you can apply assertion, okay. If you are using this package, you don't want to use the assertion, like that you can specify how to do that. See, enable assertion, okay. Minus enable assertion, which package name, disable assertion with the package name, like that you can specify, okay. If you wanted to apply more than one package, then you can use three dots, okay, which will tell that it holds good for all the packages what you are using in the program, okay. Like my pack, okay, sub packages also included, that's all, okay. Because when you are specifying the pack, it holds good for that pack and the methods and classes inside that, not for the sub packages. If you wanted to apply this particular enabling assertion for sub packages also means, you can put this with three dots, okay. So that's about the assertion, because assertion is normally the condition check. If you are expecting some particular value, and only that will flow as it is, okay. Other than that comes means, that will be handled through the particular uh, exception handling mechanism, okay. So this is what assert, that option is also provided in Java. That's what the main thing here. You can do this handling with various ways, but Java also provides the keyword assert to extract the information. Next comes static import. Long back I had given one question on our uh, group. Static import, the use of, because when we discussed this in our module 4, how to import the packages, how to declare the packages and all, uh, we not discussed static import. But static import is also another important concept which you should know. If somebody asks, is it possible to apply static to import, you should tell yes. What is the use? To import static members of a class. So if you declare uh, particular packages as static, okay, you can access directly the members of a class. How to do that? See, for example, mat dot square root, mat dot power 4 comma 2. See, I wanted to evaluate square root of the power 4 to the power of 2. This square root I wanted to calculate. So how to do this in Java? Because Java is having a square root function. It is available in math class, math dot square root. And Java is also having power function in maths class, math dot pow. Okay, 4 comma 2. So this I will write like this. So please remember, square root is a static method because it is invoked with the name of the class. Now you know that what is the difference between any method with creating object and any method with you are invoking with the name of the class. Square root is a static method. That's why you are invoking that with the help of class. Now ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದು ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿ, ಮ್ಯಾಥ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ವೈ? ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಟಿಕ್. ಎಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಅದು? ಮ್ಯಾಥ್ಸ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿದೆ. ದಟ್ಸ್ ವೈ ವಿತ್ ದ ನೇಮ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಮ್ಯಾಥ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಇನ್ವೋಕಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್. So that's what about this particular method. This is normal operation available in all the particular instances. Now, as you are made that static. See, import, how to write that? Import, ಏನು import ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಾ? java.lang is default but not static language. Okay, so you are writing explicitly import static java.lang.math in that square root. Okay, and import static java. See this type, like why we are making this static means we are using maths, square root so many times in the program if it is, or pow so many times in the program if it is. Okay, each time writing this math dot, that you can avoid. Okay, see, when you explicitly mention like that, ನಿಮಗೆ ಮ್ಯಾಥ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಬೇಡ ಬೇಡ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಯು ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ಡ್ static math is I am using. So directly you can invoke this method. Square root pow ಅಂತ ಬರೆದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕು, because it is already you are imported. So static members of, see the definition, static members of a class you are already importing. Instead of okay ನನಗೆ ಮ್ಯಾಥ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿರೋದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ರೈಟ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಇಂಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಟಿಕ್ ಜಾವಲಾಂಗ್ ಡಾಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್, ದೆನ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಟೋಲ್ಸ್ ಗುಡ್. ನನಗೆ ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್ ರೂಟ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ, ಪವ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ, like that also you can mention, or you can put star means everything will come. Okay, so that is what the use of static import. Okay, so these all are what actually mm, we discussed. So we learned so many things in this particular class, that is about transient and volatile. Is it not? First we volatile, that's what first we come across, static and volatile, very important information. Then about instance of, another important concept, instance of, it is together, instance of, another important keyword to verify whether object belong to that itself. Okay, that we are observing through instance of. Then we also come across another important concept, that is about native. Okay, so native methods. Is it possible to invoke the particular methods which is written in another language? That is with native methods. Then strict FP, another important concept for floating point accumulator, to maintain commonality across the platform, we are with strict FP. Along with that, we also come across assert. Okay, to check the condition with the assertion, what you are expecting, like that itself you can maintain the coding structure. And then a static import. Okay, the packages you can make it import according to your requirement. That is possible with static import. So these all are what different discussion we have done today. Uh, as I told, even though like being a Java learner, all of you should remember these particular information, like why these particular keywords are used. Suddenly some question like, is it possible to use native method in Java? You should tell yes. Like that, is it possible to make any particular package static? Such things you should remember. Okay, so that's why I covered all these things. I don't want to skip anything. Okay, hope you understood. Thank you. We'll meet next class with very good topic, that is about strings. Thank you. Have a good day.